The origins of Saudi Arabia's these guardianship laws it's really difficult because it kind of comes in this weird cycle, right? So first, I'll start with cultural conservatism, right? So these are tribal and patriarchal norms that predated modern Saudi, right? And so before even like Islam went to there, these are things that were in practice. For example, female infanticide, right? And so you were seeing women as these bearers of family honor, and because of that, to protect the honor, their like behavior and movements were very strictly controlled, and that then in turn heavily influenced Saudi Arabia's legal system, kind of like reinforcing this idea that men were expected to protect and oversee women. And so based on that, we get to this goes hand in hand, the state building and alliances and the religious interpretation. So Saudi Arabia became unified in the early 20th century. This is just a quick history thing. And it became a monarchy, but it had to gain legitimacy, it had to form the strategic alliance with the Wahhabi clerks. So Wahhabism, it's this very strict and literalist interpretation of Islam. And so religious scholars interpret certain Islamic principles, such as the idea of Giwama, which is men's authority over women and family life, as justifications for guardianship, which it's not. Islam very much subscribes to separate spheres of influence. And so this interpretation, it emphasized the male responsibility for women, but it also directly went against rights inherently written for women into the Quran. And so the government, you see them cherry picking which Quran rulings like were more important than others, while choosing to look outside of the context of each like revelated line, like each line as it was revealed in the Quran. And then you had other religious scholars give out fatwas, which are edicts, which institutionalized guardianship laws, making them like difficult to challenge. So they made it part of, like they codified it into the law, and it wasn't even part of the religion anymore there. And then they continued like this pattern with the Wahhabi clerks, right? So it's a part of, they focused on them and their ruling in order to gain their support. And so, but then the oil boom happened in the mid 20th century. And so you saw like a lot of rapid modernization coming to Saudi Arabia. Like things were getting big. It was like an economic boom, but it was also a progressive economic boom, right? So you had different kind of job opportunities and different lifestyles being showed. And so the guardianship system came back as a way to resist, like push back against these Western cultural influences, which were seen as being very bad because it was a change of the times, right? So then you had the 1979 Iranian Revolution, and then the attack on the Grand Mosque in Mecca, and it basically led to a huge conservative backlash within Saudi Arabia. And the state was like, this is why we need these religious controls to maintain legitimacy. So it tied back in. And so because of all this, it's very easy to attribute all of this as to simply being patriarchy, but it's difficult because it's not just a cultural thing. It's like a deliberate system of control intertwined with state and religion, and by framing these restrictive policies as Islamic mandates, the regime, it legitimizes male dominance, and it continuously enforces the rigid gender roles to maintain the social and political order. And that's why you can't even say it was a patriarchy. It's just all of it, like feeding back on one another.